know, it kind of like in a way humanized him, like in a way that he's bad, not like humanized him in a good way, but and yeah, I would give him the book a 4.5 because the entire, I guess, sexual assault part of the story with Tech was like kind of too much to read, and I was honestly not expecting that at all. And I feel like it was kind of breezed through, like it was not a big deal, like we can move on. And that's a lot of the issues with, like, talking about sexual assault is like, okay, it happened, move on. And it just felt like that was kind of the nature of that conversation. And I also wanted to see more of the mom. I felt like the the synopsis or like the summary of the book promised more of the mom, and like we didn't get to see much of her at the end. But yeah.
Sure. Just to chip in, I think Mary's you're being too generous on Dick because honestly, I have to agree with everyone. He is the worst. Like I was listening to the audiobook laying down, and when he slapped, I got up like, whoa, who he like? What is happening? Like, not slapping my girl, Olga. I just couldn't stand him. And then that whole thing where she was trying to help her mother, and he tried to rape her. Like that was extreme. Like, what are you doing? Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, she just asked for solar panels. What are you doing
Exactly.
here,
That.
Jake? Like, what the hell? Like, and then it was a big deal because the Arthur did put her in an apartment. She didn't come out for a long time, and it did ruin her relationship for a while with Mateo. So I'm like, bro, she went from asking solar panels for her country that she loves a lot, and she goes on TV and says everything she has to say. And then here comes Dick, she just asked for help. And then he's like fucking her. And I'm like, wait. This is
Yeah.
it's funny, but it's not funny. I'm like, guys, she just asked for solar panels. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And then I was mad at her mom for putting her in that position. I'm like, Senora, you haven't seen your daughter in a long time, and she has a boyfriend. And I'm like, you go ask for the freaking solar panels, Like,
She had a whole
sorry.
gang. She had a whole
I
gang.
was just
She
like,
could've- no, I don't know. That was just terrible. Dick is a dick. His name is perfect. For
It fits him perfectly, the name, definitely. So you guys, I don't know if some of you have noticed, but we do have a special guest here, and she's been with us a couple of minutes already. We have the one and only, sorry if I'm spelling your name wrong, saying your name wrong, Xochitl Gonzalez. It's right here. You can come on in now.
Hi. Oh my God. I am so I don't know, it's really cool. First of all, like that's dope that I'm just listening to you all talk about it. And like, no, I kind of want to talk about like all the stuff you're saying because it's weird. It's like your thing, and then it's like scary when it goes in the world. I don't know how to say it otherwise. Like it's like, and then like I want to talk about even the stuff you didn't like because I feel like I want to explain myself. I just want to explain what I was thinking to see if it changes how you think or not about the book. Like I don't care if it gets me a half a star extra. Like just more like I don't know. I feel like yeah, it's weird. This is like this weird. It's like a I there was somebody said this and I totally get it. It's like I think she was doing too much, but I know why I was trying to do some things. So I want to talk. Let's talk about it. I'm excited to be here with you all. It's so beautiful.
We are too. That's why I really wanted to do this with you in it because like we've said here, it's a book that has a lot of of heavy subjects, and it's great when we have the person that wrote it to really walk us through each of those subjects and like why it's in the book. I feel like it's very important, and I don't know if you heard me saying that earlier that we don't really see these kind of topics in books, which is you're kind of breaking already a barrier. And I know it might be uncomfortable at first to read and to really digest everything that's going on and those heavy scenes, but in a way, we're breaking barriers, we're opening up conversations that in the majority of the community, of the Latino community, we don't really get. Like there's subjects there that I don't even feel comfortable talking with my mother or or my dad. So this space, I like it. This book community that you get to just discuss it with other people.
It's so funny because part of the reason why I even wrote it, it's actually like mad awkward in my own family because we never were like, my mom left me when I was 3 with my grandparents, and she was like she was like a socialist activist, and I lived with my family, but we were never allowed to talk about it. Does that make sense? Like, it was like if I'd be like, I miss my mom, they'd be like, you're not grateful that you're here. Like, and so like, and I think, so even now it's been random because like it's like, in some ways it's fiction, but like, clearly there's some feelings that I had that now everybody's seeing for the first time. And even now everybody's like, it's a really beautifully written book. And like, they still don't want to talk about anything. So I think to a certain point, we're putting stuff, I wanted to put stuff to make us talk about stuff, even when it's uncomfortable. And I don't know, what do we want to, like, I was listening, I mean, we could start talking about Dick, because I think.
Yeah, I think that's a character that we all like have a lot of feelings for.
Yeah. I'm like, the reason why he's there, first, so the reason why he's there, like, I felt like she had this experience of sort of getting thrust. The problem with her mother is that her mother's always a little right. Does that make sense? Like, it's like she's always a little wrong, but she's always a little right, like everybody's mother. And like, she's like the extreme version of like the really intense mom. But she basically, she goes to this school, she doesn't ever fit in, and she feels not seen by these people. And it's like almost this like way. So like, it's like she's like fucking her revenge in some weird way. And and so why he needed to be there is that like on this other like sort of macro like artistic level, I sort of saw all the characters like being symbolic of things. Like her mother is kind of the symbol of like just literally like the island, like within the ocean with the elements, like the land. And like I saw her brother as being very symbolic of like the diaspora, like it's sort of like it's in tune but then not in tune. And she actually, as disconnected as she feels, is more representative of like Puerto Rico itself, like the Boricua. And Dick is the US. And so I know, and I've seen
I see what you're saying.
The sexual assault was unnecessary and blah, blah, blah. And yet I felt it was necessary because she goes for help and instead this terrible thing happens to her. And her attachment to the land, to her island, is ultimately the thing that puts her in this precarious position, and so I get like, I mean, the book's been out for 3 weeks. Like, no, I get like, this is like in my head for like a long time. Like, I get why like that hasn't like come out, but like, I do think, to me, it was inevitable that it had to go that way. But I think, Jackie, it was you that were like, she just was there asking for help. And like, what, like,
but you know what? She got closer with Mabel. Mm-hmm. And Mabel was there for her. And yes. I know I see your symbolism, and thank you for explaining it. I understand it better now. Yeah. But also she got closer with Mabel, and they had a moment, because I think that when you hear her in the apartment and Mateo is in front of her door singing to her, and it's like she needed that, but it was more than that. It was her mom not being there for her. Yeah. And as a girl myself, it just starts with her mom not being there in the beginning of the book. And it's just, she's strong, but no matter how strong Olga is, or Prieto is, or how much her family is strong and beautiful, because her family is there, her mom is not there, and her dad is not there.
Yep.
So it's like she still needs her mom to say, you're great, you're beautiful, and she doesn't have that, except Mateo's in front of her door, and
I think like at the end, like the thing with Mabel is like, I don't know. I felt like I've had this with like where you're like almost like set against each other sometimes, like, and so like this idea that like then you internalize that and you're like, okay, I am going to be this person. I am going to be this person. And like, and it was almost like she finally was able to just like let them love each other. And
yeah, I had a moment.
I think that like in some terrible way, I don't know, the hard things make us like more open. And I do think like it's, but when I was doing the research for the book, the thing that it was depressing, like I don't research, how do I put it? I don't research like, and like completely like, and then come up with like, I would research as I was going along. Like I'd get to a plot point and I'd be like, okay, now I'm gonna like really dive into like what was really happening with Maria. And mainly because I just didn't want it to get like historic, like academic, you know what I mean? Like it was like, sometimes you internalize things too much. And what I realized is like after this giant trauma with Maria, what actually happened was the communities were coming out for each other and they stopped looking elsewhere for help. And that ended up paralleling. That was actually a coincidence. Like it was like in her moment of trauma, she needed to like finally open up and not seem like always the one that I'm going to bring the napkins. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Like she was like the person that could just be and let herself be helped and let her cook for her and let Mabel climb in the bed with her and like let herself be vulnerable, you know? And so like that there's no more need to pretend in some ways. And that in the end, the terrible thing, both terrible things, because actually ultimately at the, like for the first time really at the end, she's kind of like legit just rejected by her mother, right? Like in this way, like up until then, like it had been like, okay. And then like when nobody checks on her and it is like, and she's like, nobody, like they would have never know what had happened, but nobody even said it, you know, like nobody even asked. And I think that it's like, okay, now I can be honest that this was about something else and I have to just deal with everything like as they are. And I think that is like an open perspective. I don't know. It's a new beginning in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a new beginning in some ways. I don't know, other stuff like what other stuff do I just can't, I can't tell you. It's so crazy to me. Like I'm so like moved that like people have been reading it.
I know it's a very popular book. I feel like everyone's reading it and it makes me happy, you know, to see another Latinx author, you know, being in like, you know, the general bookstore community.
It's so wild and it's so like, yeah, it's wild. So I'm just excited to talk about stuff or stuff that annoyed you or whatever. Like there was something else that was like, oh, it was a Dick story.
Oh, I complained about the Russian mob.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, you know, okay, I'll tell you that. Like, that's like so interesting. That's like just a mad Brooklyn thing, to be completely honest. Like, it's like I just didn't know how to write Brooklyn, and I wanted to.
Oh, okay. So that's why.
This is a weird pissed off thing that I have. Like, it's like when I went to go and see my book at a bookstore. Oh, I have the book. I bought it. Wait, I have to show you. And I see this book like next to my book on the shelf, and it's called Kings County. So I was like, oh, that it happens his name alphabetically. He's like, oh, David Goodwill. There aren't that many of us, so I'm going to say his name. I've never said his name before. So I was like, oh, I'm going to buy this book. It's like happens to be near mine, and it's literally all about just like white hipsters that moved here and like going through music, the rock indie music scene in the early aughts, and then like Occupy Wall Street, and I just have been so it's like exactly why, and it's like my Brooklyn that I grew up in, like you couldn't throw a stick and not know like a Polish person, a Jamaican, like a Russian. Like I actually felt like I was remiss in that I didn't have a good Jamaican character. Like it's like this like sort of tapestry of what this area is, and so like some of it, you know, was definitely stuff that to me painted a picture of Brooklyn, like, but I see how, you know, I see, look, it's my first book, you know, I may have done too much. Like,
it was great. I mean, it's not gonna like ruin the book.
Yeah, I know,
but I think I loved like in the beginning to have the Russian mob explain like her business and like that she kind of she did whatever she could to get as much money as possible. And I thought that made so much sense. I think like towards the end of the book, I was so into this, like everything from the hurricane and everything like is Prieto, like HIV positive is not. And so I think like the Russian mob coming back when she sold her business to her Megan, or like that was like threw me for a loop. Like I felt like I was going down another path, and I was so into the two like main pieces.
Main storylines. Yeah.
So that's kind of like, I loved it at the beginning. It really painted a picture of her business and everything that she did. But then I was like, oh no. And I think that's how I felt about Dick too, because I think he was a dick. He was horrible. I thought he like played this role in the beginning and really showed like that she has this desperation to be loved, but also wants to be closed off. And so but I thought we were kind of done with him. And then like he comes back and I was like, no, why is he back? Like I was kind of like, so I think all of those have beautiful elements. I guess I just wasn't expecting them in like the third act.
Totally. I think, you know, the thing about the Dick thing, that's just like, that was a fundamental challenge, right? Because I wanted to write a book that like gave little, I don't know, Toni Morrison says like, oh, the invisible man was invisible to whom? Like, who were you writing the book for? Okay. And so on the one hand, like, I was like, oh, should he have a POV? Like, should he have like his own voice in the book? Because I'm not really writing for that. I wasn't trying to write to explain anything to a white audience, if that makes sense. Like, it's like if you want to come along for the ride, that's really awesome. But like, this is sort of like our story. But then I needed him there because I wanted to write two characters with a lot of agency. Do you know, like, where they're not like coming from like direct, like they are pushed past, so we think, like the immediate trauma, and they're coming from like, you know, they have some success and blah 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 and like whatever, and you know, she's got the right bags and the shoes and the this and that, but at the same time both of them are so they're so dependent on like sort of white power in some ways. Like, she needs this clientele in order to survive. He needs the donors. He needs the the people that cooperating with him in government, and he's beholden to all these other things. And I realized that if I were to really write like the diasporic experience, I can't write it without the white point of view and the American white point of view, because it's such a heavy hand and it's such a definitive power. So like, and I thought honestly, like it was, and the thing that made me realize it is because, you know, I really felt like when we got to the end and we're like post Maria and they're all sort of having that dinner, the worst part about that dinner is like some of that stuff was like practically paraphrased from like a Forbes article about people that moved to the island after Maria, like rich people to get like so much of it was like me watching YouTube videos and like being like, oh my God, like I didn't even, in fact, after I wrote the thing at the very, very end about the solar panel tax, they obviously, like, I'm writing it in my house, like it hasn't been published yet, but something happened after I put it in the book where they were trying to pass a tax on solar panels. Like, and I was like, this is crazy. Like it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. So like, you know, like I did an interview the other day. I couldn't even believe it. Like, the guy was like, it was so interesting, the thing you made up with Promesa. And I was like, I didn't make that up. Like, that's like, I didn't make that up. That's not fiction.
Way to do your research before an interview.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, it's so...
I actually go when you know it's mentioned on the book, I Google, I'm like, is this real? Okay. I did my own research after.
I did say that earlier. I said that I am Puerto Rican by descent, and I learned so much from your book that I was not anticipating learning. And I mean, so grateful for it. It really did open my eyes to certain things, because I did I knew about everything with the hurricanes, and my grandma at the time was down there, and it, but it was like, I was so focused on what was only happening to her. I didn't think about what was happening to the rest of the island. And so you really definitely hit on so many beautiful points about Puerto Rican culture and just how they've struggled and been kind of, you know, left alone for so long and not cared about. And I just constantly thought of Trump throwing paper towels the entire time I read most of that stuff, and how angry I was about it. But I really loved that you incorporated all of that into the book. It was very heartbreaking yet beautiful at the same time.
I honestly, thank you so much. But I could have probably written, because I heard somebody say, I wish I was more the mom. I almost think like, I want to almost write like a prequel, because I could have had this, like, I know everybody's story. And like, there was like one version that was happening, outlining or whatever, where I was getting so much more into her and Johnny and like the brothers and sisters. And and then I was like, we've got to figure out what this book is. Like, I was like, I could have, I guess, written like an 800-page book, but I was like, I don't think you should do that. Like, and at the same time though, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated. I can't read it now. Do you know, like I had to read it 900 times. Like I had to read it 900 times to proof it into this and then that. But like now it's like, I feel like I'll feel like depressed. I don't know. It was like, you should have done this, you should have done that. But I think, I wish that I could have gotten even more into that story, because like, in my own family, ironically, my being so like light, my mom is the darker one of her sister and her, and her sister might be Linda. She's like, it's like the Latin vanishing half. Do you know what I mean? She like moved to Connecticut, like blah, blah, blah. No, it's like, and so like, but they grew up in a time where people went in so many different directions. And I'm also so fascinated by the siblings, like, like by Blanca's siblings. So there's more story, and I wish that I could have gotten to it, but I don't know. I think she's such an interesting character, and it's been so cool. Like, who loves her? This is so, because like I've been talking to different people and getting like whatever who loves her are like boomer Latinas. Like they're like, he did that. Like, like they're like, so like, I think like they see the confinement of her choices or the limitation of her choices in the era, and they like, they don't see any of the bad. It's really interesting. Like they'll be like, she's amazing. Like it's so interesting to me. Like, right? Like, isn't that fascinating? And like, if I hear from Gen Zs, like they're like, the mother is horrible.
And I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think that what you did with Prieto was amazing, because when I read towards the end that he got married, I'm like, finally, Prieto. It wasn't that hard. Because even Lourdes, his daughter, was like, okay. Like it took him, like, it was funny, but not funny because I'm from Florida. So being part of the community is nothing to us, it's like whatever. So when Prieto was telling Lourdes, his daughter, and she was just looking at him, like a 10-year-old just came out. Like he was like, I felt like, you see, even a 10-year-old has bigger balls than you. And I'm like, that's all you have to do. But at the same time, I was proud of him. And I was so happy when he got married towards the end. And I think that was awesome that you did that. Because I was like, I just want him to be happy.
Me too. But I think like it's so funny. I think you actually asked a question about the show. Ramon Rodriguez, who's playing Prieto in the show. Hopefully it gets on.
So there is going to be a show?
So there is. Yeah, hold on.
Wait.
We shot a pilot, and I have to tell you, like, the one thing I'll say is that, like, you can't even imagine how hard it is to I know we all like are heartbroken when like there's so few shows, there's so much, like it is like if you want to have agita every day of your life, try and make television with Latino people. Like honestly, like it's like it is so, it's like a fight. Every day is like a fight. So the pilot is absolutely beautiful. Like it is stunning. It's like a film. Like it's like a film. Like it's like, I mean, and there's nothing, it's like the book in that it's not, it doesn't pander, you know what I mean? There's no, like, I don't know. It's a celebration of our culture, but it's not like, it's stereotypical. And it's a battle, you know what I mean? Like it's a battle all the time. Like it's like a constant battle. So I'm hoping that it'll get on air. But when we were meeting with everybody for casting, and Ramon came and he was like, I swear to God, I have a cousin this is their story. This is like Prieto's story. Like, but I think it's so interesting because like, why do we feel, what is that makes us, and it's sometimes also the same thing in a family. Like it's like where we feel like, okay, you're the one that's responsible. You're the one that's the screw up. Like, and it's almost the same. Like he was the man of the family at a young age. And then it's like, well, how it becomes like literally a container, you know what I mean? And they're both kind of in these containers. And so it was nice to see them break from that. But it, I think that can be painful. And I love that his daughter, I mean, it was important to me that his daughter just be like so chill because
she was like, okay. She was like, thanks, but also at the same time, back to the mom, when you had that scene that he meets his mom, A, she doesn't care about Lourdes, and B, she knew that he was part of the community, that he was gay, and at a young age, and she didn't say nothing to him. So I was like, listen, lady, listen, you're just going from words to words because you knew all along, and I think that you would have saved him a lot of like those dark moments, like that he needed her, and she knew like all this time, and I'm like, that's fucking great. You know, you're such a loser. Like,
so, and I care. I'm assuming we have this many women in a room. Somebody's a mom. At least somebody's a mom. But like, I think what's the interesting about that is like I'm 44 now, and we were at my you know, my comadre from college's like her daughter's party, and her daughter has told us she's gay. She's like, I'm queer, blah blah blah. And her mom is so liberal, you know what I mean, like so progressive, and she's, but I see her struggling. Does that make sense? Like, and so like it is interesting how even though when we like can live in content, like the stuff that gets ingrained in our heads, like gets ingrained in our heads, and we're pushing past it. And I wanted to make her, it was a weird thing. I actually was like, when I was thinking about, oh, who's the Blanca character? You know, she's so like, you don't need a man, you don't need this, go for the revolution. But then I was like, but something's got to be backward, like not like, do you know? And I was like, this is going to be an issue for her. Like, she can't, you know, she's everybody gets a little stuck like in something, and that was going to be the thing. But I mean, I thought it was also interesting because why I wrote her even that way where she leaves is because I had been reading about Filiberto Ojeda Rios, and I was like, he had left and everybody celebrates him like a hero. Like nobody talks about the fact that he left like these 3 kids, like he would just send them like a video recording tape of his voice, and like, but nobody.
I'm sorry, you were reading about who?
Oh, he's a character in the book, but he's a real person. He was an independista in Puerto Rico, and they decided that he was a terrorist, and so they end up like he runs away to the mountains in Puerto Rico. This is in real life, and for 15 years hides in the mountains, and literally, but left like a whole family, you know. And I thought like how he's like celebrated, and I was like, what would it be like if that was a woman that did that? And right, and I just was curious about that. I was you know why? Because as my own self, I was left by both my parents with my grandparents, and nobody blinked that my father wasn't there, but people would be like, your mother's not there, you know, like, and so I just
so this happened to you too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like, oh my God, no. But people would never, like, nobody even cared my father wasn't there. They'd just be like, your mother's not there. And like,
That's
and
true.
that was part
That's
of
completely
so much
true.
pressure
That's
on
true.
the mom being like this caring, loving mother that we
because
like the expectation is just
yes. But
as
also
a woman,
the other side is like, you know, and I think that's why Olga is so you know, I always say like Olga, I was like, oh, and I thought, oh, who's the character? Like, I was like, Olga is like me if I never went to therapy. Does that make sense? Like, I was like, oh, if I never had any therapy, and when I got divorced when I was like 32, and I remember this is literally just bochinche, but like my ex-husband comes like, oh, he was like, listen, he was like, if you give me another, he was like, I want to give it another chance. And I was like, no, I don't. And he like, and he was like, he hands me this, like, I see, he wrote me like a Leah, like a 10-page letter. Like, it was and at the end of it, he was like, you need help. And I was like, wait, so we were just gonna, if I would have said, yeah, move back in, you were going to just take this letter and throw it in the trash. But at the end, when I got to the end, I was like, you know what, maybe you're right. I do need help. And then I started going to therapy, but I say that to say, I tried to imagine all of those other fucked up coping mechanisms, and honestly, so much of what I think happens with Olga and why she's with Dick, it's like she wants to seem to the outside world like it didn't affect her. Like yes, my mother left, but because she's so worried that because what always happens when I think if any of you have ever had that for yourselves or in your extended family, it's like people are like, but what was wrong with you that your mother, that's how it feels.
Yeah, like it's sometimes put on the child, like, okay, why did she leave?
Yeah, and so she feels like she has to like make herself so perfect. And I think that's what was dope about Mateo, is he kind of comes in and he's like, well, you were abandoned. And she's like, but like
he makes her see like you're not okay. Like even though you're pretending like everything is okay,
He does tell her that.
like deal with your issues, you know? Because she kind of like brushed them aside, like, oh yeah, my mom left me and my daddy's a drug addict, but I'm fine. I have business.
It was like fresh eyes, right? Like it's like she's been living in this BS for so long, and he's like, no, like what are you talking about? Like that's
it
so
was definitely
sweet.
like fresh air to her. Even though at first she hated him, like who's this guy telling me how to do my job or like what not to do? But I'm glad it worked out for them.
I know. I mean, and look, it's like I think the other thing is I also is like I don't know. It was really important to me to show like middle-aged people falling in love, like because I think we sometimes think like that's it, like you know, it's over, and but it's like the things that make it complicated. It's not so much the drama that when you're younger is like, oh, he doesn't want to commit or this. It's like you're so in your own BS and your own like stuff, and you don't know how to share. You know, you've been so closed off, and like, and that's the stuff that you. And I think that was why it was so. That period when she, after the whole incident, well, there's 2 times when I didn't want him to come across like a pushover, but at the same time, I'm like, well, if you've been by yourself for a while, you have the same mechanism, like you go to the same habits, right? Mm-hmm. And you push people away. Yep. And like, how do you like that? You don't just break that just because the person is nice. Like, it's like, you don't. And so I don't know, it was important to me, but then it's been so interesting because like, I guess on like a book talk, like it's been fascinating to me to see like college students, college girls, like Latinas in college, like reading it. And I'm like, oh, it's so, because it's, I'm like, oh, it's such an old lady story. Lady story, well, you know, like it's like such a middle-aged lady story. What other stuff you want to talk about?
I mean, I think we should talk about how much we all probably love Mateo. Like,
oh my God. I think we all need a Mateo in our lives.
I could not get enough of him. Yeah, I thought he was great. I loved how he had his own quirks, like in his house. Mm-hmm. You were so descriptive about his house and all of that. I really felt like I was in there, which was really great. But I loved that he was rich at the end. That was, but then like also how he was rich was like so perfect.
Yeah,
it wasn't like someone left him a bunch of money or something like that, or he was with the Russian mob. It was like he was investing in the community.
Yeah,
that would have been a twist.
That would have been. But like,
you know what's awesome about Mateo and what I hope people take away, and this was honestly like from when I was divorced and started dating, and when my friends were before my friends paired off, is like if there was this version of her that could have thrown him away because she hates the way he dresses. Does that make sense? Like, it's like I'm not even gonna, you're a little obnoxious, like you dress crazy, you look like a pig, like you've got this giant backpack. And somehow, like, you know, it's like, I don't think if Jan hadn't died, she would have even talked to him. Does that make sense? Like, I think like on a different day, like, I don't know, she would have talked to him. Like, I really think like it was like exactly the order of the events that like left her open. Like, she's like kind of sad, you know, he like talks to her about music, like, and then it opens the door. And because she doesn't feel, you know, the thing about being in Brooklyn now, if you're from here, is like, you really, I don't know how to put it. It's like a constant state of being like a little bit, a teeny bit pissed off. Like, it's like, like like everywhere you go, like it's like, why is it so weird that I'm from here? Like, it's not, that shouldn't be weird. It's like, that should not be the thing that's weird. And so I think this idea that they connect on this level, it leaves her a little bit more open. And then he's like the type of person that as soon as he gets a foot in the door, he's gonna like,
he's all in.
He's all in. So, but I wanted somebody imperfect, you know what I mean? Like, and I think because he wasn't perfect, she had so many self-esteem issues when we first meet her. Yeah. I don't think if he was really perfect, she would have
fall for him. Yeah.
Yes. Definitely. Yeah. Like, it was almost like the only way it could be. I don't know. It's so I'm working on 2 books at once. But one book is like not about it. It has nothing to do really with Olga. It just takes place in the same neighborhood that she lives in.
Okay.
And you meet him as a character like 10 years earlier.
Oh,
because
Mateo?
Yes, Mateo. But like when
is that book coming out?
That'll be a while because it's like, that's slow. That book is coming slow. But he is, because I like that he has also lived a lot. Does that make sense? Like, it's like
Yeah.
when you meet him there, it's like he's kind of like a womanizer. He's still working in banking. You know, he's like the dude. And yeah, what is that? So, you know, Mateo to me, like, so there's a couple of characters that, because they didn't have POV, they represented more. Mateo represents like compassionate capitalism. And then you have the Selbys who represent like almost, what would you call it? Like anarchist libertarianism. Like, and so like they're more of like political viewpoint, like economic viewpoints in some weird way. Like, and the fact that you can, I don't mean to be like overly like dorky about it, but like, you know, it's like you could participate in your community and not have greed be the number one thing that like moves you forward. The idea that you could invest in like where you live, that you are like, you know, that he cares about having roots and having culture. And like, and I think that, and it's the opposite of the Selbys in the sense that they, you know, but there are these sort of change agents in their communities in both cases, even though like the other characters are less central, but like you know, and he represents to me like the Brooklyn ethos of like living, you know what I mean? Like that is like what I feel like real when I think about what this place is supposed to be and what I hope to try to hold onto in some tiny way. Like he is that place for me. And that's why I think he's so lovable. I don't know. I think he's
definitely. I think I'm gonna go ahead and say I loved him more than Olga. Like one of my favorite characters. Just
Well, you know, I will say like the thing about him is you're meeting him on the other side. The other reason why I love him as a character though too is because this is to me is really real. We think somebody dies and we think like you're supposed to get over it right away. And what I love about him is that he's very aware that he's stuck. Like his mother died and he's stuck. Like, do you know, like it's like, and so she helps him get unstuck.
And his dad left him, right?
Yeah, his dad had left him like much younger.
So he connects with Olga and abandonment, and I think he connects with Olga and abandonment issues that they both 100%. Have. But he's just different, and like that he's always there for Olga. So I'm so looking into when you finish the second book to read more into him because who's there for him because he's there for her.
I mean, he's a dope character. And it was funny because you know, in your head, you know so much more than what ends up getting to make out on the page, like, right? And so what's been cool about the show is like, you get to tell the actor, like everything you know about this character. Like you're like, oh, it's like this and this and this happened to this person. But I think like what is good about him is that like, he had worked through a lot of like that being extra, you know, like she's trying to impress people and this and that. And he kind of moved past that, but I think I wanted to also show he is aware, like she's not aware that she was traumatized by her dad dying or mom leaving. Like she refuses to acknowledge it. And he's very like open. He's like, you know, my mom died. I've been fucked up. Like, you know, like, like it's like I just started keeping everything.
Yeah, with his Christmas
room.
I was like, that was cute that he has a Christmas room.
I'm glad he was true though from the beginning that he was a hoarder. Like I have a light room, I have this room.
Don't you love people though that are real like that? Like I just love people that are like, I don't know what to tell you. Like I'm not even gonna try and impress you. This is who I am. This is who I am. So like,
I loved that Christmas room. I like actually think I would want one.
Like, right?
Like,
you know how much you hurt me?
Yeah, it's like his yoga room.
It's like his yoga room. It's totally
it's like that you made it like he's his Christmas room.
Yeah, it's totally like his yoga room. Oh my gosh. I probably have time for like one more question.
Yes, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Yep.
Okay.
I just want to say that the ending was like one of the best endings I read in any book. Like I related to Olga in a way that I've always had like this shadow of my mom, like from like every stage of my like lifehood, and like knowing that she like met Mateo and then she's just saying like, you know, we're gonna grill. It just felt like she was liberated and like she was ready to start a new like phase in her life, and it just like feels so good to see that and to end the book like that. It was amazing. I love it
so much. Sorry, I'm like getting emotional. Like, no, thank you so much. Like, I stayed up at nights, like worrying about how to end this book.
Like, no, you did good.
I think that, you know, I really wanted the message to be that we have the capacity, if we can find the love for ourselves, to self-determine our own joy. You know what I mean? Like, and so she finds Mateo and he leads her to love herself. You know, she loves him, but he leads her to love herself. Yeah. And that gives her the courage to stop courting something that she sees she's never going to get. You know, like, and, you know, and just on a super personal note, when I stopped talking, the reason I stopped talking to my mother, like, was not even in the process of writing this book, but one day I thought to myself, and I think in some subconscious way, it's what gave me the idea for the reverse. But I thought to myself, if a man treated you the way your mother treats you, you would not talk to them. And like, if they ghosted you, stop returning your calls, doesn't show up to something, you know, like you'd be like, I'm not taking this. And I was like, I think subconsciously it was like what if the opposite is like that your rock ends up being this person that you meet, and that the person you need to let go of is this person who you're from them, and you need to make peace with it. But that's why I love that she could have. And she's like, I don't even want to have her in my orbit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to go home and chill with my man and do some grilling and bring some wine home. And so thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It was a perfect ending. Really loved it.
I want to get a picture if
everybody
is okay with it, you know?
Please, no.
And you don't have to show yourself, but if you have the book with you, the physical book, you know, take a picture with a physical book.
I'm doing the Flatiron Instagram today.
This is the book of the month version. I love it.
Yes, but that's okay. I'm so happy that people got it.
Libro rojo que está allá, por favor.
Hey, but I took out my cover. Let me go get my cover.
Okay.
It was so pretty. I didn't want to get it
I also
dirty.
read without the cover, but I had to put it on.
It was so pretty. Wait.
Wait, I did the audiobook so good.
Que me busques el libro. El libro rojo de allá, ese. De
I love when everybody reads too.
I got the cover.
Okay, beautiful.
Because it's so pretty. I was like, I don't want it to get dirty.
Ese. No, el otro rojo, el otro. Ese, gracias.
There we go.
We got it.
Avanza.
I'm taking a quick one. Yay.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
1, 2. Give me 1 second. Okay. Do we get it? Or no?
Got one. Let me get another. Okay, one more. Yay.
You got it, matey?
Not yet, because I want Xochitl to be in the center. How do I do it?
I don't know.
I don't think you can.
All right.
Yo no sé hacer este, Diego.
Do it like
Yo no sé
that.
hacer este.
1, 2, 3. All right.
Thank you so much, everybody, for reading. And
Oh my God, thank you for joining us. This was a dream come true. Thank you so much for your time.
Then wait for your next book.
Yes, let us know. Yo, that prequel is a good idea, so hold on to that.
For real. We're going to be like, we know Mateo. We know him.